So when Mary gives me permission, and this is going to be informal, where just like how we did it back in April and March, where we just help each other out the best that we can. And so, Jordan, or could you make sure that Mary can give me the rights to record it, or if Mary can record it? And I think it's recording, so that's great. So I think what we'll do is we'll wait a couple, maybe one more minute, because I want to be respectful for the people that came on time. And then as more and more people dribble in, that will be there. We will, like I said, record it, and we'll send out a link, probably via email and social media. In that link will probably be some charts or some other handouts as needed. And so if there's a way, Jordan or Mary, every time someone joins, I hear this bell, this dinging bell. So we can somehow mute that dinging bell, that'd be helpful. And I think let's get started. And this is great. Yvonne, it's been a while since I've seen you, so it's great to see you here. And she has a question, and I love questions because this is why we do it live. So her question is, and people can see it in the chat box, but she has a gluten-triggered autoimmune disease that's been controlled for 5 years, and she has an anaphylactic reaction to peanuts. Is it safe to take the vaccine? So let's talk about this. So the first thing is, this vaccine, both the Pfizer and the Moderna, they were not tested with people with autoimmune. We're not tested with people with inflammatory diseases or severe allergic reactions. And probably, I think, one more group, immunocompromised. And therefore, then, we don't know how people with autoimmune or other people are going to deal with this. So, but there's also good news, two forms of good news here. One, Johnson & Johnson is coming up with a vaccine, which will be able to be, they're actually testing it on Hashimoto's patients or other people. So that's number one, it's great. Number two is we can do things to mitigate autoimmune diseases, meaning can we protect ourselves from an autoimmune reaction to a vaccine? Some people have to take vaccines even though they are autoimmune. So I've come up with probably the top 2 or 3 things that I would do if I was autoimmune. And Jordan, please take notes. And we're going to try to take notes about this. But if any questions about this, Jordan, can you in the chat box put your email address down? And then any questions you guys will have an email address to ask questions on. Jordan, I'm going to unmute you. Thank you. See how this is done. Mary, can you unmute her? I don't think I have access to that. I think Mary does. And so, so Jordan, yes, ask Mary about that. And again, I'm not a professional Zoomer, so this is something I'm doing just to help everyone out. So please bear with this part of it. So one, if you're worried about autoimmune, wait till the Johnson & Johnson vaccine comes out. They're hoping second or third quarter of next year, but don't know. Number two, let's talk about autoimmune. How do we get autoimmune? We get it through leaky gut. So someone like Yvonne I would say make sure that you stay away from the gluten. And the other part is 40% of gluten patients have a reaction to dairy. So stay away from dairy. And I would do at least a month, 100% of both of those before you get the vaccine. And let's talk about dairy for a second. What is dairy? Milk, cheese, yogurt, butter, and ghee. That is dairy from any animal, sheep, cows, goat, any animal. So now, supplement-wise, what can we do? One, we want to help leaky gut. That's how autoimmune happens. So how do we do that? The we get the best results are probably 3 phases. One is the GI Complete from the office, and that's 3 pills twice a day of that. And the same email address, the admin one at KanodiaMD.com. If you want to order supplements, you can do it there. The other one is going to be SPM actives. S as in Sam, P as in Paul, M as in Mary. So now, what does autoimmune mean? Our immune system is working too hard. And what do I mean? It's an imbalance there. So we are too much inflammation to one degree or another. So is there a way to balance out the immune system? There is. The SPM actives we have found to be the best way to balance out the immune reaction. And so that's the next supplement I would do. And the third part of autoimmune is the reaction to the inactive ingredients. And I'll get to that here. And so your detox has to be optimal. And so the ones I like is Lymptone 2, Lymptone 3. And so that is also going to help with autoimmune patients. I'm going to come back to more questions here in a minute, but let me just go over the big part of just some of the background that I found on this. And so here's a little bit of information on just the vaccine itself. Number one, most people who make reactions to vaccines, people hear about the MMR vaccine or a vaccine in autism. I'm not going to go into that issue, but the idea is those are live vaccines. When something is live, you have a better chance of making autoimmune. So this is not a live vaccine. That's really good news. Number two is the average vaccine in this country gets tested on 21,000 people. This one's got tested on 74,000 people. That's really cool. As I said before, it was only tested on healthy people. It was not tested on immunocompromised, people with inflammation, or people with autoimmune. We don't know anything about kids. Do not. One thing interesting, by January 5th of this year, last week or so, 8 days ago, we gave 4.5 million doses of this vaccine. And only 308 people had to go to the hospital. So we hear about the ones that are going to the hospital, but it's actually a very low comparatively. And only 17 people out of the 4.5 million had a serious reaction. The other ones were just minor reactions, and nothing's minor, but relatively minor, from either anxiety from the shot or they felt something, oh my God, I'm going to die. They go to the ER, they're fine, they go home. Some more background information is that there is a difference between an EAU versus biologic license. And this is what you're going to hear on a lot of the websites. So an emergency use is something where we have great data, let's get it out there, versus a biologic license. Yes, it's approved, it's gone through all the different stages. At this point, we have an EAU for this, an emergency use uh, certification. It will take time to go through the whole process of a biologic license. So we're not there yet, but they're saying that yes, everything is at least to the point of a pandemic level, you know? So the data are, remember, data is always plural. My boss at Harvard kept trying to teach me that, and I still haven't learned it. Is that serious side effects are less than 1% from this. So you're going to see on some websites that they're pushing for one vaccine, not two. That is a mistake. Again, this is all my opinion based on all the data I've read. I try to look at the research. With only one vaccine, you have a 50% chance of being having the benefit. So it's a flip of a coin. With both vaccines, 2 shots, you have a 95%. So don't take a 50-50 chance, get both shots. In terms of after you get a shot, it takes 2 weeks to work. So you really aren't quote unquote vaccinated till really 2 weeks after you get the second shot. So let me jump to this idea of how does a vaccine work to some degree, and how do we make it more effective? And this is the functional medicine or the badass side of what other people are not going to talk about. So for vaccines to work, or anything to work, meaning if you get COVID-19, how not to get it again. Or if you get the vaccine to make it work more effective, you got to have a proper immune system. It's going to take a couple things. Number one, it's got to have enough T cells. That's the part of the immune system that actually makes and kills COVID-19 if you get it, and makes the vaccine work. So we did our due diligence. I'm a nerd, and we actually found a supplement that actually boosts up your T cells so you can actually have that in your body. So then when you take the vaccine, you have the raw material. That's one part. So we've come up with a vaccine prep kit. It's gonna be 3 things in there. One is a T cell. Number 2 is gonna be this, it's called immune shield. And what it is that you first gotta have the right immune system. You get this vaccine, the immune system turns on, and it has to make something called an immunoglobulin. It's an IgG. That IgG molecule then ramps up the immune system to actually then knows when that COVID-19 gets into your body, then it can attack it. So it's like your memory. So you want long-term memory, right? And you don't want to be like an Alzheimer's patient. You want to have long-term memory. And so the immune shield gives you your long-term memory. And the third thing that we've all heard about in our prep packet is going to be melatonin. New data just showed people who take melatonin a 28% decrease rate of COVID-19. And that's amazing. 1 out of 3%, essentially 1 out of 3 people less. Also, there's data showing if you take melatonin, you're going to do better with the vaccine. That's awesome. So for ours, we call it snooze power. That's the one I like the best. But now, let's talk about functional medicine and melatonin. That's my exciting part, right? So, number one, get the prep kit. Take it at least 2 weeks, at least 1 to 2 weeks before your vaccine if you could. Now, but let's talk about the functional medicine melatonin, right? The fun stuff. The part that makes my mom worry if I ever get married or not, right? And so is We make melatonin naturally. And how do we make melatonin naturally? By stopping light pollution. And what do I mean? So all the lights we use stop us from making melatonin. All the light bulbs we have, all the TV screens, computer screens, cell phones, anything. The only light that allows us to make melatonin is candlelight. So the research data is ideally 90 minutes before bed, use only candlelight, and turn off all electronics. If you can't do 90 minutes, do 30 minutes before bed, and then your body actually makes melatonin. That's cool, right? Which is awesome. If you say, I still need light bulbs, and you can't, what's this, everyone? And you can't use just candles. The special light bulbs I use, I put in the chat box. It's called lowbluelights.com. There's special light bulbs there that mimic candlelight. So that is one part of PrEP. And we'll get to more, but that's one part of the vaccine. I'm gonna get to questions here again, but I have a lot of information. So let's talk about the rare severe reactions. Why are people getting the rare reactions? It's due to the inactive ingredients in it. And the inactive ingredient is the PEG, the PEG, polyethylene glycol. That doesn't sound healthy to me. However, that won't stop me from getting the vaccine, though. I'm not saying that. So what we can do is, this is great stuff. I love the science, right? You remember how I talked about IgG? There's an IgA, there's an IgE, and an IgM. 4 types of memories. The ones that are causing the severe reaction is IgE. That's the ones that are causing our allergies to pollen, dust, ragweed, those things. So what happens is the people that are having these severe reactions have too much IgE in their body. So just like if you have a shellfish and your lips swell or whatever, it's too much IgE. So what can we do in functional medicine? We can actually measure IgE levels. This is awesome. And it's a test we call Wheat-Zoomer test. And so if you want that test, contact the office. And if your if your IgE as an elephant is too high, then we can measure that and make sure that we can either try to lower that level first, or that you're ready for it. You go to a place that they'll get you that vaccine if you want to. And let me make sure I say this. I am not saying everyone to get the vaccine. I'm not saying everyone not to get the vaccine. This webinar is to give you information to empower you. And that way, then we're all on the same page. But that's why people are getting the reactions as of now, is a reaction to this molecule PEG. So we can actually measure the IgE levels. And then as you get your better detox going on your body, like the Limtone 2 and 3, other things like that, you're gonna have less of a reaction too. And so Mary, there's something that people are locked out. So if you can take care of that. Let me go to a question by Lisa now. So Lisa had the Moderna. She had some sore arm and fatigue. I'll come to that. Two things that were unexpected: blood pressure and paresthesia, especially limbs, for a couple days after the shot. The question is, was the reaction enough? That's the second dose to be required. Okay, so let's first, this is a multi-step, this is like a 5-step question. Okay, so let's do this. Let's talk about reactions. I have that here. What are the most common reactions that we're seeing with COVID-19 shots? So the most common reaction we're seeing with the Pfizer one is pain at the injection site, tiredness, headaches, muscle pains, chills, joint pain, and fevers. Pain at the site, tiredness, headaches, muscle pains, chills, joints, and fevers. The Moderna, same ones, except for now they have lymph node swelling. And lymph node swelling means what? Detox issues. So now, if you have a detox issues, I would recommend the Pfizer run, not the Moderna one. And again, this is just my medical opinion, yada, yada, right? So don't, whatever, don't sue me over saying that. The Moderna ones also has nausea, some vomiting, and fever. So how do I know someone's detox symptoms? Yes, there's lab testing. We can do that. And if you want the labs for your detox, let us know. We'll tell you what testing to do. But there's a couple questions I ask. One is your sense of smell. So everyone just think about your sense of smell for a second. And if you've been to me as a patient, you know this question already. If you go to an area of strong odor, perfume store, candle store, etc., does that bother you? Some people say, oh my God, yes. Some people say no. So if you go to a candle store, perfume store, or the detergent aisle of a grocery store, and you would rather stay out of it than go in it, I call that a moderate detox. And it's probably, I'd recommend probably getting a couple of detox tests done. And make sure you take the lymph node 2 and 3, and probably doing the Pfizer vaccine. And Jordan, just make a note of the detox testing. If I do the detox testing, I would do 3 tests. One is called the Dutch Plus. Number 2 is our liver detox. And number 3 is our methylation test. Those 3 tests will give me a good indication how your detox systems is and what supplements we could do to help specialize that. We made a chart. I did not make the chart, the team did, but I had the information. And it's here. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, I think I've shared my screen. And can people see my screen? If someone can put yes or no down.
Yeah.
Thank you. Perfect. And so let's make this bigger. Let's minimize this. Make this full stop here. Okay. So that's too big. So the way I approach this is this, and we'll have this handout for you on the website, or you can do the admin one at KanodiaMD. But pain at the site, if someone can mute themselves, who's ever making noise. Thank you. So pain at the injection site, there's a hemp oil cream we like. Let's see what I can do with this. Perfect. If you're feeling tired and fatigued after the vaccine, what's happening is it's affecting your mitochondria. So again, for functional medicine, just take a supplement that helps the mitochondria out. Let's say you have headaches after the vaccine. There's actually mitochondria in the brain, so we want to give this specific mitochondria support in the brain, and the hemp oil seed cream we just put wherever that hurts. Let's say you're having pain in the body, it's the muscles of the body that doesn't have enough energy. So we use the power fuel with D-ribose for that. Fevers or chills, that means our immune system does not have enough power or enough horsepower to actually do its job. That's the immune shields. That's the IgG, those immunoglobulins. Joint pain, inflammation. I'm gonna bring down the inflammation. Swollen lymph nodes at lymph node 2 and 3. Let's do this. Okay. With the chat box, any questions about this chart? And let me see if I can stop sharing my screen, see what happens there. I don't see any questions about that. So, but that will be available if you guys want that. And Jordan, if there's any way to put a link to that into the portal or into the chat box, so people can download that, that would be great. So let me continue with Lisa's other questions. Do I think that one shot was enough? My answer is no. If you had the reactions for over a week, then I would say that may be enough, but I took the second shot. There's someone talking in the background, so if you can mute yourself, who's ever talking, that'd be great. Thank you. And then if I get my antibody tested now, in a couple of weeks, I discover you have a lot of antibodies, might it preclude me from second dose? No. Get the second dose. I also had a rash at the site 7 to 10 days after immunization. Okay. So Chris is asking, do you recommend we take the vaccine? You know, it's a personal decision. I will say this, you know, I don't know how many of you know, and we made a new teaching kitchen in the office. And we'll be launching that to teach people how to cook, including myself. And the person there works at a nursing home. And they have 74 residents at that nursing home. 20 of them died, literally died of COVID-19 in a matter of 2 weeks. And so COVID-19 is real. I'm going to keep giving you information for everyone to make their own decision about it. Rashan asks about the autoimmune that come from the vaccines. You know, I try to follow the things. I'm not seeing a big increase in autoimmune from my friends, from my other doctor friends or other people. Could there be an uptick of that? It may be, or I'm not seeing a lot of uptick of autoimmune in our patients. And maybe our patients are a lot healthier, right? They're getting all the right things in their body, so the autoimmune is not happening. Yeah, if you're eating the standard American diet, right? You're doing all that crap. You're gonna have worse reactions to the vaccine or worse reactions to anything. The healthier, the more balanced your immune system is, the less issues you're having. But I have not seen an uptick in that as of yet. Can you please, and from the iPad, address the issues of the vaccine preventing COVID? This is a great question, a very, very good question. And I'll come back to it here in a second. Let me talk about the timing of the vaccine. So when should we get the vaccine? So there's a couple things that make us think about timing if someone was going to get it. You get the vaccine 90 days after you've had COVID-19. So you have to wait. Number two is, some people are getting a treatment called monoclonal antibodies to help treat a COVID-19 severe reactions. You have to wait 90 days after that too. Now going to this issue of prevention. So when we're talking about success rate here of these vaccines, we're here, this is the news, the 95% success rate. What they're saying is that they're having less people have moderate or severe COVID-19. That's how they define success. They're not saying that it's going to have less people go to the hospital, less deaths. However, some people can actually say, yes, you know, if you have less severe, you have less deaths, but we don't know that. We don't know if it actually prevents less infection or less transmission of infection yet. We don't know that. What we can say from the two early studies is that people who get the vaccine will have less moderate or severe symptoms. That's what we can say. One other way of saying this is that in terms of prevention, there is something we call absolute numbers and relative numbers. So 95% is a relative number compared to something else. An absolute number also gives us some good data. So looking at the Moderna trials. So 167 people needs to get vaccinated to prevent one COVID-19 patient. That's what the early data is saying. So like, wow, so those numbers don't get reported. What gets reported is at 95%. So I want to give you the information so you can make your own decisions. In terms of Nicole, have any vaccines prior to these uses approach? This is a great question from Nicole. So these two vaccines use something called an mRNA. It's a new way of doing these vaccines. You guys have probably heard about this. This mRNA is something new, a new way, and we've never used this in any vaccine studies. So we don't really know the long terms of this new way of doing it. Again, there is a lot of different vaccines that are going to be coming out there. Some of the old ways, some of the other things out there. I will say, like, for instance, like the China vaccine, when you actually look at it in Brazil, it has a 50% response rate. So it's a lot worse. But so hard to say long-term ramifications. Question number 2, how does this differ than traditional vaccines? Traditional vaccines will use, so let's say we, have a car, right? We take the fender off the car. We put the fender in the body makes reactions to the fender, and then we have our immune system reaction. So we actually use part of it. But this is using the part of the DNA or the RNA, so it's a whole different way of doing it. So what are the positives and the negatives of this approach? The positive was we got something out there a lot quicker than anyone else in the world with a lot higher efficacy, that 95%. If we're using the old approaches, it's going to be another 6 months, a year, if not longer, for that approach. I don't have a number. But then we will have more past data to say how it's going to react to us long term. Another question from iPad. Can you please address the issue of getting the vaccine and then having mild and almost undetectable symptoms, and therefore appearing asymptomatic, but still being contagious? So I guess if I'm trying to understand the question here, can you please address the issue of getting the vaccine and have mild or unexpected symptoms and therefore appearing to be asymptomatic? So let's talk about contagious. Are you contagious after you get the vaccine? It depends on if you actually mounted a good response to the vaccine. And that depends on your immune system. That's why, like I said, 2 weeks before I'm getting the vaccine, if I get the vaccine, then I'm going to be taking the immune shield and the T cell so I can get the good immune response, so I'll be less contagious. With that being said, how do we know about contagious or not with the vaccine? The real answer is we don't know. So I mentioned different immunoglobulins, the IgGs, that's our long-term memories. We have our IgEs, those are the ones that cause the allergic reactions to the PEGs. There's also IgAs. The A's are the ones in our nose, in our mouth, in our lungs, in our gut. So we actually measure our IgAs in the same Wheat-Zoomer test. We can also measure IgAs in our stool study test. So our IgAs are the one that tells us, can we pass it on or not? So if you have a low IgA level, you're more likely to be contagious after the COVID-19 vaccine. If you have enough IgAs, then you'll be less contagious after the vaccine. I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense or does not, or no? If somebody can answer that in the chat box for me. Okay, that makes sense, good. So thank you for that. So contagious wise, bottom line is we don't know. Now, with that being said, the healthier you are, the less you'll be able to, after you get the vaccine, you'll stay in here longer and you'll be less contagious to other people. I did find a study about how long are you immune after you get COVID-19. This was a great study. So it's interesting. You have a severe infection and you're a male, here, first thing ever, it's a good thing I'm a male, that you're going to have more of a reaction and have more immunoglobulin, so you're more protected to COVID-19. What do we mean by a severe reaction? That means that you had a fever for about a week. A severe reaction means you lost your appetite, you lost your sense of smell, you had gut issues, diarrhea, etc., and you had an abdominal pain or cramping. If you had those four things, you probably have a pretty good response to COVID-19, and you're probably not going to get a COVID-19 infection as soon as someone else will. If you had a mild symptoms, then chances are you did not make that many memory cells. If you didn't make that many memory cells, then you're not going to be, then you may get a second COVID-19 infection. So I hope that answers that iPad question. So Anne says she's heard one guy got completely paralyzed from the vaccine. Like I said, out of the 4.5 million doses that were given, 17 people had severe reactions. So you do the numbers in your head versus your health and those things, how you want to look at those numbers. Another iPad question. Can you address the relative effectiveness of the vaccine for the absolute? I think I did that. What about the long-term risk of this? Jill asked. Again, we don't know the long-term risk of this. However, we are knowing the long-term risk, some of the long-term risk of the people with COVID-19, the long haulers. You know, we've all heard about that, right? What are the risks of being a long hauler? And I think I put together information about that, long haulers, I think we'll be probably doing a interview with ABC News about that here soon, and things we can do for that. But I put together some information about that. The question was asking, so let me give you my opinion. Do I think there's going to be long-term reactions to the vaccines? It's going to depend on if you had reactions to other vaccines. So if you're one of those people that have allergies, like those severe anaphylactic allergies, like to peanuts or to shrimp, you carry an EpiPen with you. You have to take Benadryl. You get Guillain-Barré's with vaccines. Then you may be one of those people that have long-term reactions, right? If you're one of those people, you get vaccines and you feel fine in a couple of days, chances are you're not going to have a severe long-term reaction. That's what the numbers were saying, right? And again, you can do things to help mitigate that even more, the functional medicine approach. And if you want a full functional medicine approach for this, contact the office, and that I'm happy to do a 30-minute appointment with you guys or whatever to give you a personalized approach. So the question is, can you please explain why people with autoimmune issues need to wait for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine? Great question. So the Pfizer people and the Moderna people, there's called a inclusion and exclusion criteria in studies. So if you have inflammatory disease, you have autoimmune, you're immunocompromised, they will not let you get into the study even. They said, nope, sorry, you don't qualify. The Johnson & Johnson study is saying, if you have Hashimoto's, if you have these illnesses, you are allowed in the study. So then we'll be able to then say, with certainty then, what happens to those people? But right now it's a guess. So now the question is from David about pulse electromagnetic fields, PEMFs, and supplements, meds, COVID vaccines, cell organs. In terms of what we know. So big picture is this. Our number 1 and number 3 killers in this country is heart attacks and strokes. That's circulation. So bar none, and this is close to my heart, right? My dad died of a sudden heart attack at age 62. That stinks, right? And circulation is important to me. So when I look at the data, 95% of us have poor circulation. Just how things are in America from what I see. So the things we try to do, we try to help circulation. Standing at our workplaces rather than sitting all the time. Exercising. The right nutrition. Some people like tech. And tech is great. There's a lot of tech out there, but you want research-based tech. And research-based tech, there's one called Beamer, B-E-M-E-R, not the car, that actually has the research that shows better circulation. I think increased circulation by 30%. And so what we have found, and it takes about, it's like the size of a yoga mat. You sit there, you do nothing, which I love, right? It's not hard like exercise or things like that. And you sit there, you do nothing, and it can increase your circulation by 30%. It lasts for 12 hours. It's kind of cool, right? So again, people tell me I overwhelm them with too much information. That's definitely true. Now, if you wanted to add a badass way, right, for the vaccine, what's something you can do, right? Jump on a Beamer a couple times a week for 2 weeks before your vaccine. And in the chat box, David, could you give them your email address and cell phone number in the chat box? After you take the vaccine, jump on it a couple times a week. And then after the vaccine, jump on it a couple times a week. Bless you, bless you, bless you, Lisa. In terms of the, and that helps circulation out. In terms of how we use in the office, the Beamer is that what we found is if people use these PEMF devices, right, these circulation devices, and then you take your supplements, or then you do your nutrition, it's much better, right? Better circulation, it gets into your cells better, yada, yada, right? Another ways of using technology is that, let's say you're having pain at the injection site. You can use this device to help with the pain there, yada, yada, right? Technology is awesome. It makes everything better. The right technology with the right research, not overdoing it, yada, yada. Okay. Lisa's going to be brave and go for shot number 2. That's great. So in the chat box, Jordan put down the blog that has the charts in there. Jordan, if you can put it on the chat box again, the blog, that'll be helpful. The question then is, if I get tested, this is from Yum, and I have antibodies, should I go ahead and get the vaccine? So Yum, that's a question that only you can answer, right? Should you get the vaccine or not? What I would say is this: if you have enough IgGs, IgAs, IgMs, and the fourth one, whichever I missed, then you have a better chance, like you have the raw materials for the vaccine to work really good in your body. If your memory ones are low, then you have a less good of a chance to actually get the full benefit of the vaccine. So I hope that answers that. Angie asked a question. I had a severe reaction to the H1N1, and I've heard you had a reaction to that vaccine, you should wait. Is that study correct? I have not seen a study that compares the H1N1 to this, but I have seen this. This is kind of cool. Okay. People take notes about this, right? 2 types of reactions. One is side effects. One is that allergic reaction. I went over the side effects already, right? The tiredness, fatigue, headaches, those things, muscle pains. But what are true severe reactions or allergic reactions or anaphylaxis? That's the shortness of breath, the skin reaction, dizziness, fainting, low blood pressure. I'm probably speaking too fast, sorry. Someone mute their thing, thank you, and throat closing. So this person, Angie, this is critical for you, Angie. I hope you're listening still, or you watch the recording. So if someone like you gets the vaccine, and I'll answer this, you want to have 3 things available to you, Angie. And so if anyone wants to make sure, if I'm going to get the vaccine, where do I go? That's a question I get. So you want 3 things. Number 1, they have an anaphylaxis kit. And that's for that severe reaction I just talked about. Not just that. You want them to have 3 doses of epinephrine there. They may hate you by asking these questions, but still ask the questions. And why is that? 1 shot of epinephrine may not be enough till the ambulance comes. They might need to give you a 2nd shot or 3rd shot. Again, this is like 1 in a million type of numbers I'm talking about, right? Very, very low numbers. Not 1 in a million. They're saying A severe reaction happens between 1 to every 50,000 to 1 to every 100,000 patients. So it's like 1 person for every OSU football game stadium. You put that into perspective. And people, here's a time for a joke, but this is very important. People get less reactions if they cheer for the Cleveland Browns, especially Sunday at 3 o'clock. That's very important. You'll have less reactions if you are a Browns fan. Okay, number 2 is that they should take your vital signs at that place. Make sure they do that, which is your temperature, your heart rate, your breathing rate, and your blood pressure. Someone, can you please mute yourself again? Thank you. And then the third thing that you want in a vaccine area is a place that you know an ambulance can come in 5 to 10 minutes. So especially someone like Angie, someone like Angie, or someone that has severe reactions before and past vaccines, right? And so those are the 3 things we want to look for if you get a vaccine at some place. So Angie, for someone like you, that I would make sure I would do the testing to make sure that you're healthy for the vaccine, that you do all the vaccine prep stuff, and that you go from there. So let me quickly, we have questions. So let me talk about the 3 vaccine tests I think are the most relevant. One is to measure, like I said, that the immunoglobulins, the memory. Number 2 is to measure your vitamins and minerals, your micronutrient test. And then number 3 is to measure your GI tract. It's what we call our stool study, because the second biggest part of the immune system is in your gut. So those are the 3 tests, and we'll have that written down. Jordan, if you can make a note of that the COVID-19 vaccine tests, and then if you just say that, we'll help you with that. But now, again, there's other tests. If you have autoimmune issues or if you have detox issues, I'll specialize further. Now, how do I say the overall protocol would be? Let's keep this, I'm gonna try to keep this simple, okay? I would say a week before the vaccine, I would do an ozone treatment and an IV nutrition treatment. I'll go into that. I would take your supplements. The day of the vaccine, I would be grateful for the vaccine, thankful for the vaccine. Don't be mad, sad, scared, worried, all those other things, right? If you want to be prepared for any side effects, get our side effect kit for the vaccine if you want to. Don't have to. It's there if you want to. Then for the next couple weeks, I'd be doing IV nutritions. I want to make sure you have enough vitamins, minerals in your body to make the actual memory. So the vaccine's actually working. Then whatever, week 2, week 3, get the vaccine again. And then 2 more weeks of getting IV nutritions once a week. Keep taking your prep supplements, and you're done. Very simple process. So, and Jordan, if you can make a note about that, maybe we'll have a chart or something about that, our COVID-19 prep, right? So bonus is doing the beamer. That's a bonus item, right? Bonus is doing the testing. Something that is required, I did say, is being a Browns fan. That helps a lot. So that will also help you too. That's big picture protocol. I'll get into more things here. Okay, Kelly asked, what have you read about it not stopping the spread? It's a great question. And right now, we don't know if getting the vaccine is causing herd immunity or not, or stopping it. We don't know yet. Why? So this question is, why take the vaccine if you already contacted COVID? This goes back to Kelly's question. The answer is because the immunoglobulins, our memory, is not lasting. So, and then Rachel is perfectly muted. So that's why. We don't know how long you're getting immune to it. If you have a healthy immune system, wouldn't it protect you better than anything man-made? So I think she's saying, if you have COVID, is that the best thing to have happen? It depends on your immune system. Again, your immunoglobulins, other things. Depends how severe infection you had. And depends how healthy you are. I'm more of an and approach than an or approach, right? I want to keep myself healthy. If I get COVID, get myself healthy through it, yada, yada. I'm not an or person per se. I thought that the Moderna vaccine prevents transmission. I have not seen that data, and it could be out there, but everything I read from the research says that there is no 100% that. Jill asks, I'm sorry, can you please share the numbers again and ratios again? Okay. The numbers and ratios I have is this. Some of the numbers. That the average vaccine trial is about 21,000. This is 74,000. Serious side effect is less than 1%. After one dose of the vaccine, you have 50% prevention or 50% success. 2 doses, 95%. The range of severe reactions is about 1 to about 75,000. That other number I think you're looking for is that 95% versus cases, and that 167 people have to be vaccinated to quote unquote prevent one COVID or going from moderate to severe COVID. This is from one data that I saw. So Kelly's asking, if it doesn't spread this, if it doesn't prevent the spread, how is it protecting anyone? So the idea is, if it's not protecting the spread, what it's doing is stopping from making you having a severe reaction or moderate severe. So what we're seeing is that there are places now, right? Hospitals are full, places are rationing care, so doctors, nurses, people, there's not enough staffing to take care of people. So therefore then, what we want to do is, if we can have people have less severe reactions, they're able to stay at home with it and not go to the hospital. Therefore, then you're able then to be able to manage this. Because I don't want you to go to the hospital, right? If you're at the hospital, you'll be around more sick people. If you're around more sick people, you're gonna have a worse chance of doing well. So the first version of this vaccine is to make it less severe for you. Because we are seeing that we can't, Americans are not healthy enough to have mild symptoms of COVID-19. That's the bottom line, right? What's the data say? You take all the developed countries, we rank 37th in health, even though we spend the most amount of money in healthcare, right? And that's why you guys are all on here. You know, you guys want to be healthy. You guys don't want to be like everyone else. All the things that you're doing for your health is why you're gonna have mild symptoms if you do get COVID, and you're gonna have less reaction to the vaccine if you take the vaccine. Okay, what can we do to strengthen ourselves beside not to get the vaccine? Dan asked. Okay, so number one is a mindset, right? Or I would do this. These are some things I haven't talked about yet, right? 90% of our health comes from our subconscious. And Jordan, you might want to take some notes on this. So there's some subconscious music from a company called Inner Talk, INNERTALK. .com. It's research-based, which I love it. They have one on the immune system. Play that 1 hour a day in the background, and that will get you 90% of your body working to have a better immune system. That's awesome. I love that music. I was playing it 8-10 hours a day. Hypothetically, I hold grudges, hypothetically. So I was doing the forgiveness one, right? Hypothetically. And that was helpful, hypothetically. And so that's number one. Number two is what we call focus feelings. That's the other 10% of the brain, of the conscious brain. And what do I mean? So someone new came in, if you can mute yourself, that'd be great. First thing in the morning is first thing, after you turn off your alarm, I don't recommend an alarm, but if you did have an alarm, don't do anything. Stay in bed. That is your best time to heal, right then and there. Picture in your head with all 5 emotions, hearing, seeing, whatever, smelling, tasting, touching, these things. What does it mean to be healthy to you? Just feel that from head to toe. That's called focus feelings. So picture in your head and feel with all 5 senses. That can improve your healing by 100-fold because emotions are much better than just thinking. Next is the hydration. So 2 questions there we talk about. Yep. It's not how much water you drink, it's how much water you absorb. So if you drink around 32 to 48 ounces of water a day and you're still thirsty, oh, fine, 64 ounces a day and you're still thirsty, chances are you're not absorbing water. Or if you drink 8 ounces of water and you have to pee under 2 hours, you're not absorbing water. So get a product from our office called Elite. And again, I will put in the chat box. I put in the chat box, if you want to order any supplements or whatever, it's at KanodiaMD.com, or the admin one is fine too. There's a product called Elite, and then and get your Elite sheet. And we have instructions how to dose that for you. So make sure you get your instruction sheet in that. And the reason why I bring up water, the new research is that the body is actually 99% water. So if you don't have enough water in your body, it's hard to have a good immune system. And my team is reminding me that if you want to get on our email list, or you want updates on this stuff, go to our website and sign up for our newsletter. It's at KanodiaMD.com. Number 3 is sleep. Sleep is how the immune system works. And what I mean is, If you wake up with an alarm, you do not get enough sleep. Wake up naturally. That is the number one thing you can do to help your body heal with everything. If you can't wake up without an alarm, there is an app. One second. Called Sleep Cycle. Sleep, and the word cycle like a bicycle. That can help you wake up at the proper time so you don't get groggy when you wake up with an alarm clock. There's more on sleep. We'll go over that in the future. Next is the foods, right? So if you haven't gotten an assessment on your nutrition with Lauren, get that assessment done and make sure your food's optimal. The other biggest thing is stress. That lowers your immune system. There's two things: stress and bliss. Whenever you're in stress, you're in illness mode. Whenever you're in bliss, you're in healing mode. So figure out how to live life and not in the stress mode. When you do that, that is amazing. If you're stressed, our number one supplement is called Relax Max. Relax and then MAX, Relax Max. We found out to help people bring down the stress. That can help you. I think probably the last thing is probably exercise, and outdoor exercise is better. That helps the body out. I find in general, most people over-exercise, and what I mean is that after exercise, you should feel good, not worse. And 2 or 3 hours later, you should feel good, not worse. If you feel worse after exercise, it's too much. If you feel worse after 2 or 3 hours, that's too much. Balance it out, right? Balance is great. So those are some things. Go ahead. I hear something. Okay.
Oh, hey, Dr. Kanodia, it's Jordan.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
I was thinking we're kind of running up against time right now. I was wondering if maybe I saw a couple people ask, maybe you can recommend the top 3 or 4 ways to avoid contracting COVID-19 while you wait for the vaccine, or even if you are choosing not to get it. What are some of those main things that you can do?
So I think I went over that list when I talked about the inner talk music, those other things.
Sure.
And one else thing I'll add is something called Wim Hof breathing, WIMHOF. It's a type of breathing that takes about 10 minutes to do. It's pretty awesome. I'd say badass. And it takes 10 minutes. You can go on his website or YouTube videos, and there's counters how to do that. That helps the immune system out too. We can do one of 2 things. I have a lot of information. So I have more information. So in the chat box, we can do one of 2 things. We can stop here. It's been an hour. And we can do something again, maybe next week or the week after, whatever. Or shall we continue tonight? So in your chat box, write down continue or next week. Okay. I think if I'm doing my math right, it was almost half and half, maybe a little bit more of next week. So you know what? I say, let's give everyone a break. Digest the information that I went through today. I gave a lot. So I would say this. Look through your notes. Pick one thing, maybe two things to implement. That is it. And then write down your two top questions. And I think we have a link to our blog post. Jordan, do you want people to put their comments in the blog post, the questions there, or should we just wait till like next Thursday? Or I mean, not next Thursday, next week.
We can certainly monitor the comments in the blog, and I also provided, and I can put in there again, an email address. But I would suggest one of those two ways. In addition, please follow us on social media, and you can always ask us questions there.
So Jordan, if you can put the blog post down on the chat box, I think there's a comment section there. And again, I think everyone knows me. I'm not on social media a lot. That's just not me. And if you guys are having a lot of questions, write them down. Yes, you can do social media. Yes, you can do the comment box, but write them down and next week we'll get to them, right? I do much better audio than I do writing down because these are complex questions and I want to give you guys a fair shot at answering them. But yeah, over the next week, look at the stuff and let me look at my schedule right now. Let's set this up. Yeah, I can probably do it next Wednesday at 5. Again, just keep it simple. And that way then, and we'll send out a link again, yada, yada. That link may have a registration. We want to be high tech. It may not. Yeah, write down your questions again. And then and we'll try to get through as many as we can. Jordan, me, the whole team, Lauren, the whole front desk, all the nurses, all of KanodiaMD, we're here to support you. That's how we do this, right? So you guys are all doing awesome. I have found my patients have been doing much, much better than the average population has with the pandemic in general and COVID-19. So we have the resources to help you. Okay. We are going to record it. We'll be sending out the email link to this and on social media here within the next day or two. Yeah. Ouch. I probably would watch it again if you guys have time, right? 1 or 2 times. There's a lot of information I gave. Big picture, decide what you want to do with the vaccine, and nothing's final, right? If you take it, you take it. If you don't, you don't. Don't take it now, take it in 3 months, right? However is best for you and the family and your job. I gave you the protocol to prep, right? Some ozone and IVs before, some prep supplements. Get the vaccine, be grateful. Continue supplements and IVs, yada, yada, right? If you want to do testing, we're happy to help you with that. Happy to personalize it for you. Empower yourself. Empowered, you're gonna be able to take this vaccine or don't take the vaccine with real information, not things that are untrue. End of the day, we're here to help you guys out. Okay. Everyone have a great evening. We are going to get through this all together. Okay. Bye-bye.